Hello!
Hello!
Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us here in Confidence Through Cabaret, the podcast. We are so excited. I'm Heather Jean. If you haven't been here before, I'm one of the co-pioneers of Confidence Through Cabaret. And I'm really excited because I'm joined by the amazing Adrian Spencer tonight, who is also a co-pioneer and is not normally in front of the camera.
I'm normally in my little edit suite upstairs, so you've never seen me before. So hi, for the first time.
Yeah, so this is really fun because so Adrian would normally do all of the edits and add the beautiful music and branding and make everything look wonderful. And so now in front of the camera, and we have a special guest this evening. I just want to clarify something here. I have a ridiculous amount of stage kind of makeup on because we have been recording it's over 2 hours, this amazing masterclass in makeup mastery for stage life, recorded with the fabulous Ryan Francis, who, if you're regular here, you will know Ryan very well, and in the stage name of Dis. So watch out for that on confidencethroughcabaret.com. So let me just add that banner onto here. If you haven't come across our member site, then the confidencethroughcabaret.com has amazing masterclasses and workshops for your personal life, work life, or stage life. And you'll find us on Confidence Through Cabaret everywhere. Just Google it if you want to, wherever you get your podcasts, it's Confidence Through Cabaret. Your Facebook, Instagram, you name it, everywhere is Confidence Through Cabaret. We also have a YouTube channel that you might be finding this on. So please do like and subscribe it, or go check out one of the other channels as well. All of our links are cross-referenced in the bio. So let's get to the podcast tonight.
I can't wait.
So tonight we are joined by the fabulous Gabrielle Crichlow. And Gabrielle has had her own business as an entrepreneur for almost 8 years. It's a tutoring business, and I'm so excited for you to hear all about this, the business that she's began and has been running successfully. Gabrielle has a master's in mental health counselling, and it's just such a fabulous example of being able to take something that you're educated and interested in and really be able to use it for good. So I'm really excited to be able to share Gabrielle's story and all of her insight. And so let's without further ado, bring her on. This is the fabulous Gabrielle.
Yay.
Hi, how are you doing?
Hey, we're great. Thank you. Well, I'm great. I don't know. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good. So, Gabrielle, you're coming to us from the United States.
Yes.
And we are in the UK. We have like a whole mix here. I'm from Canada and I'm living in the UK. Adrian's
from Oxford.
There you go. So yeah, you'll all have heard of Oxford, I'm sure. So welcome, Gabrielle, to Confidence Through Cabaret.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
So tell us about your tutoring business.
Okay, so we, like you said, we launched almost 8 years ago. We provide a variety of services under one umbrella. So we have the one-on-one tutoring, test prep, resume review, college counseling, editing and proofreading. We do all that. We do that in person, but the in-person is for our local towns, so which would be New York City and Long Island. But particularly, we also have virtual services that we extend throughout the United States. And we also have virtual workshops as well. So we have like art sessions. We also have like various training workshops that is also virtual through the United States and even in some other countries as well, which we're working at. But mainly it's in the United States.
Could I ask you, Gabrielle, how did you start? What's your background?
So I started as an unofficial tutor, I would say in 2005. I was a tutor in an after-school program in my college at Temple University, and it was it's called like a work study. So like you get a grant from your college to go work, and I decided to tutor. So I was always a bright kid, and I figured like, hey, I could do that. It's an easy job, and so I got into it, and these were foster kids. So working with that particular population and dealing with their struggles and getting to know them on a personal basis, that's something that I really enjoyed. And it was more than just the academic support that I was providing to them, but also it was the emotional support, it was the relationship building, and all these aspects kind of got into it. And made me love what I did, and I decided to continue with that. So I did a couple other foster care companies, and then I worked for a couple other tutoring companies after that. But those companies closed down. So, but I maintained the relationships with those students from before. So I just kind of did a side hustle and did it privately. And I did that for a few years. And then I just decided to take that leap of faith, and I would to make it official, and get the certificates and the articles of incorporation. And I thought to myself, how cool would it be to have a team of people and to hire people and to provide jobs to people and to have that kind of power and to provide that, well, I don't want to say financial stability, but to provide the opportunity to pay someone and to provide that financial freedom, I'll say that, to people. And so I took that leap of faith, I did it, and here I am.
Fantastic. That's great.
So I just can only imagine how rewarding it must be to being able to offer tutoring to young people who wouldn't necessarily be able to access those services. And when I read your bio, I was like, I need to meet you, because it's just such an inspiring part to work with young people that shape our future. So have you always been interested in working with young people, or like was there something in when you were going through your counseling training, or did you know it was about young people?
I think I kind of just fell into it because I'm also a Sunday school teacher, and I those it's between like 3 years old to 17. So I did, well, I'm doing that now, but I've always been a Sunday school teacher. I do it along with my sister. She kind of just roped me into that role. So I was always working with youth in that capacity, and because I had that experience, and because I worked with the kids in the foster care agency, and I mean that was like 13 to 17 years old. But because I had this background, and then I applied it to this other background, I think I just kind of fell into it. So I think it chose me, if we want to be romantic about it. I think it chose me. I think so. I think it just kind of worked out that way.
Yeah, and I think there are certain parts of us that are attracted to things. I was a corporate trainer I've had my own training business for over 25 years, and I've never met somebody who purposely went into training, but they always loved learning and growing, and then sharing that or passing that on. There's usually a part of us that's just kind of been in our nature, and then it just kind of opportunities start to appear because that's what we're looking at, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
what happens for you in terms of, because we talk a lot about uplifting confidence. So I can imagine that you working with you know, your effectively your clients, that must just uplift their confidence to be able to master something that they might have been struggling with. What do you notice about their confidence?
I definitely notice that it goes up because, as I was saying before, there's it's not just academic help, it's also mental help. It's also emotional help. So there's all these factors that kind of go into it. So there's so many factors that go into tutoring, and I think people don't really think about it. There's, um, I'll just kind of throw something out there. Like it, um, I see it more so with the teenagers, I will say, but there's the 14-year-old that is barely turning in their homework, and they're always getting low grades, and the teacher always writes like the negative comments about them, and they're talking to the parents a lot, and then the parents are yelling at the child like, why aren't you doing your work? And like the parent is frustrated, and then the the kid sees that, so it's they see their parents frustrated, and they're taking all that in. So they see that, and then they see the teachers complaining about them, and then they're not turning in. So there's all these different things, and then the parent gets frustrated and say, you know what, I'm just going to get you a tutor because you need it. And the tutor comes in and works with them on a personal level. So they break down the content into simple tasks. They actually work with them in doing the homework. They put things in a way that they'll understand it. And there's when that when it's like a puzzle. So sort of like when you finally solve the puzzle, it's you see that change in the child. So it's like the child is broken. I mean, to be metaphorical, but the child is like a broken puzzle. And when you put that puzzle together, you see the whole picture. And when you see the whole picture, then the parent sees the whole picture, and then you have the teacher who sees the whole picture, and then you have the child seeing the whole picture. And when it all comes together, it improves their mood, it improves their self-esteem. Mom or dad is not yelling at them as much, and the teacher is not yelling at them as much, and the teacher is not calling home as much, and they see things start to shift. And I think when those things start to shift, then it's encouraging to them, and it's encouraging to the child, and it's encouraging to the parent. And so when that happens, it's like that life trajectory just changes for them, and they go in a completely different direction than what they would have went before. So I think it's when we talk about confidence, I think when you kind of get down into the root of the issue, and you actually fix the issue, or you work at the issue, a lot of things change around it. And it's not just the academic issue. You also have to look at what's going on with them personally, what's going on with them at home. Maybe it's hard to concentrate when you have 5 brothers and sisters, and they're running around the house, and you living in a studio apartment. And so it's kind of difficult for that. And not to put anybody down, but we have to be realistic about that. And once you kind of figure those things out, and even get the parents involved in it, I think it's definitely a confidence builder. So I think when you target those issues, and they're of course getting the positive attention, because they're so used to getting the to lack of a better term, the negative attention from the parents and the negative attention from the teachers. And when someone comes in and they give them the opposite of that, that positive one-on-one individualized attention that they want, that causes, even that in itself causes a shift. And
Yeah.
yeah, and then when that shift happens, it's like when you shift yourself, then the world around you shifts.
Absolutely.
And I think that's, that's how confidence happens, is when you're able to change yourself, then you can change the world around you.
Absolutely right. Yeah. I'm interested. Do you, who works with you first? Do you work with the teachers, or is it the parents that call you in? How does that work exactly? So are you working after school?
No. So we're an online company. The way that we're structured. So I operate as the facilitator. So I'm the one that schedules the appointments. So the parents reach out to me and they say, I need, there's a whole form that they fill out, but basically they say how old the child is, what grade the child is in, what subjects they need, how often they want the sessions. And once they lay all that down, then I say, all right, so I go to my team of tutors and I see who can match their availability, and as well as the subjects that they're looking for. And then I have the tutor connect with the parent, and they have a preliminary meeting first. And when all is well, then they go ahead with the official sessions. So they reach out to me first. So I'm like the middleman. So they reach out to me, or middlewoman. They reach out to me first, and then I reach out to the tutor, and then the tutor reaches out to them, and I kind of step in when needed once the ball is rolling.
Okay. And it sounds like you're doing a lot of counseling as well. How does that work?
I think it's incorporated into it. Mm-hmm. I would say. So not like private sessions, but more of, because again, it's the frustration, and they call me and they tell me, I say, tell me what's going on. And you'll have some parents that are not as talkative, so it's like pulling teeth. But then you have the ones that just unload on you, and it's like, and it's an opportunity for me to incorporate those counseling skills that I learned. So like the ones that are not as talkative, one of the skills is probing. So it's pretty much like you're asking questions to get more information. So like, oh, tell me about that. Tell me the special phrase in the mental health counseling world is tell me more about that. So it's, he's struggling. Tell me more about that. Oh, he's not doing his homework. Tell me more about that. What are his teachers saying? How long has this been going on? So open and closed questions. Then the ones that are talkative, the ones that are talkative, it's to pretty much let them talk. And then once they run out of breath, then it's like, oh, I noticed a couple things that you said, and tell me about this, tell me about that. And it's also a lot of what's called reflection and paraphrasing. So reflection is like, oh, you sound really frustrated about that. Oh, you sound really angry. Oh, I can imagine how scary that is for you. I can imagine how annoying that is for you. So it's like you are mirroring their emotions. And then there's the paraphrasing, which is pretty much summing up what they're saying. So they're saying a lot of different ideas all at once. And it's pretty much like, so what you're saying is, they're late all the time and they're not getting there on time. And so you're taking the word salad pretty much, and you're kind of, so what you're saying is, this is what you're saying. Because to them, it's like, oh, you get it. So, and it looks like to the parent, it looks like, oh, you're actually attempting to listening to me, and you're attempting to understand me. So I think and then of course there comes a time where I have to stop the conversation. So it has to be redirected at some point. But I think it's not the intentionally counseling, but I think there's parts of it that I incorporate into the conversation.
Yeah, certainly similar or the same skills. Do you work with adults ever, sort of, if the parents are sort of saying, I didn't learn this, or do you ever work with them either so that they can support their children or for their own upskilling?
Well, in terms of we have adult clients, so like we don't stop at 17. We also do college students. We also do adult students as well, but most of our work is like college and younger. Yeah. So in terms of parents saying like, help me understand this so I can help my child, that really doesn't happen. I think it's more of just help my child or if the adult wants the tutoring themselves. So usually it's like they're trying to go back to work, or there's a career change. So usually if it's the adults, maybe like 30 and up, it's usually some sort of, there's a career change happening. Or they're trying to go back to work, or they're trying to go back to school, or things like that. That's usually when that age bracket comes through. But most of the work that we've done is like 25 and younger. So in terms of helping the parents, helping the adults, I would, like I said, like 30 and up. It's more like them doing it themselves, as how I phrase it, working with them on their own issues, as opposed to help me help my child. That's something we don't really see.
Yeah, it's just interesting because that was how I parented, was I wanted to understand what and how my children were learning things, so that I could continue to help them, until it got to the point where I was like, okay, this is way past my expertise, I always found it interesting with educators that would say, well, no, let me help your child directly. And I would say, okay, that's great. But, say, for example, with mathematics, I learned math differently, or in a different approach to how my children learned, because there were shortcuts and all kinds of things that came up. And then the educators would say, oh, just let me teach your child. And I would say, okay, but then I'm not able to help them with their homework or whatever. That's why I was asking that question, because I think for some parents, it can be daunting that your children are learning things that you don't really understand.
Yeah, and I definitely see that a lot, particularly here in the United States, is what's called the Common Core curriculum, and I hear it a lot when parents talk to me. They say, "Oh, what they're learning in school, I didn't learn this in school," and it's usually like they're the ones that work with the child first, and if it doesn't work out, they're not getting it, okay, I'm going to hire outside help. So the outside help is usually the last resort, which is interesting. But I have heard it a lot that it's like there's always that I didn't learn this when I was in school type of conversation. And then I think even more so with immigrant families, especially if the parents came from another country, it's like that way as well. I didn't learn this when I was in school. Like, what is all this? And yeah, and then it's kind of unfortunate in the way education is done, particularly I can't speak for other countries, but particularly for this country, it changes like every 5 years. So it's unstable, and it's you got to keep up with it. So it's
Actually, just
unfortunate.
how difficult is it for you to keep up with that?
Sort of difficult. I find that, so that's why we inquire a lot. Like there's all these different types of math, and it also depends on the type of school that the child is going to. So it is a bit much to say to kind of keep up with it, because we have to say, oh, what are they learning? But I think I personally find that more so in the elementary age, that it's the different types of math and reading, and like middle school. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting you guys are in the UK.
I was educated in Canada.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Like I'm trying to, how do I convert it? So I was by age. So 10 years old and younger. What they're learning it could be like 10 different types of math or 10 different types of reading, and it depends on the school that they go to. But I would say 11 and older, it tends to be the standard way, or the way that you learned it in the beginning, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But so I see all the confusion with the younger 10 and younger as opposed to 11 and older. But it is annoying, unfortunately. But but that's where we have to learn on our toes, and we have to be on our toes. Yeah.
Do you ever have, because I know this happens here, parents saying, well, I think I need classes now because I need to maybe there's a business for you there, actually tutoring parents too.
Yeah, that we don't do that at the moment. But we could work with them individually, but in terms of like a workshop, we don't offer that right now. But that's definitely something to keep in mind if the demand is there.
Yeah. And do you get involved in kind of like what happens after school? Like I know you're talking to college students who need to get a job and so on. Do you get involved with those kind of like employability training?
You mean in terms of
in terms of things like what they need to do to find a job, and how to write their resume and those kind of things? Do you get involved in any of those or no?
Well, we do resume review and like cover letters, but in terms of like interviewing skills, mock interviews, we don't do that at the moment. So we're more we're more the individual help, the one-on-one help, as opposed to like if like an institution needed a training, for example. So things like that we don't do at the moment. We're more one-on-one, but like I said, we're always open. So we're definitely open to ideas.
I was asking you that because in the UK, they've started some initiatives around where young people haven't been to school very much in the last year and a half, or have had like kind of minimum online contact, and they're finding that they want to kind of bring them back into the right kind of mental health and employability, and so they're having to launch these programs now to sort of say, here's how you would do an interview, here's how it would work on Zoom, here's how it would work face to face, those kind of things. And it's really interesting that they're starting to do that with school age children, sort of age 16 to 18, to just kind of get them back up to where they would have been if they'd have been having that regular face to face contact. And that's why I was asking that question, because I think, for a lot of places, a lot of parts of the world, the mental health is going to be a lot of question mark, as well as the fact that we haven't really been. I mean, we've been in the UK, we've been locked down
for quite a long time.
Yeah, we only cut out about 2 weeks ago, and we've been locked down since March 2020. So it's a whole thing. So, if you're either at either end of your education, if you're at, sort of 4 to 6 years old, because in the UK they go to school at 4 years old. Don't start me on that. Um, then they haven't had the discipline that they would have had if they'd have been in school. And then same at the opposite end, then they haven't had the same kind of discussions and encounters, which is why I was asking that question, because I think there's a lot about mental health anyway with young people, and then having had this kind of break for effectively a year and a half in some parts of the world, it's going to be a very interesting time to go back into schools.
Yeah, and particularly I could speak for New York City. Like kids they were remote for maybe like several months, and then they did the blended learning where they were in person for 2 days, remote for the other 3, and then they had the staggering schedules. But it was always fickle, because as soon as 1 or 2 kids tested positive for COVID, okay, that's it. Everything just shut down again, and then start back up again. So it was that instability. Maybe in the past 4 months, they started doing the 5-day schedule. But I think mental health will definitely be a factor. And even speaking to a few teachers, they're afraid that come September, it's going to be chaos. So especially with all these kids, because now they're trying to do the full day, and they're all going to be packed together. And I'm sure the parents are going to, it's like the cartoons with the explosion, like, boom, like out of their head. Like it's going to be like pandemonium. So, because, with the lockdown and the staggering schedules and the instability, and then what's to say that won't happen again, So so definitely mental health is a factor. I see it more so with the younger kids, and particularly the older kids. It's still a factor, but maybe not as much, because they are older and maybe they're more tech savvy. But it's and especially now with Zoom being so part of our society now, and all these Zoom interviews and Zoom testing and online this and online that, and all that is incorporated into society now. I think that may actually benefit like the 16, 17, 18-year-olds, because they're a little bit more of the tech savviness. So the skills, I think, will be there. It should just, the interviewing is the work in progress. But I mean, Zoom interviewing is kind of a new thing over the past year and a half. So now there's these norms that we have to develop. Like, you have to be aware of your background and make sure you're in a quiet space and a well-lit space, and like, treat it like a regular interview, like it's in your house. Don't wear your pajamas. Like, so it's there's all these norms that we have to develop now because of this shift in society. And it's, so I think skill wise, I think like the 16, 17, 18-year-olds, it's there. It's just a matter of the presentation. So I think it's, and I think there's a lot more work at home jobs now, and there's a lot more virtual jobs now. So if whatever can just be done at home on a computer, why not? So I think the advantage is there, particularly for the older teenagers. It's just a matter of their presentation, which is a work in progress. So, so it's going to be an interesting time. The next year or two, I would say.
It's going to be for you. Does it make you want to go back to teaching?
No.
Oh, yes.
Adrian used to teach media studies.
I used to teach media, so yeah. I wanted to ask. I'm just going to brush past that. So I wanted to ask how much time on average do you spend with your students? Do you have a sort of a minimum set time, or
for each session? You mean?
Yeah.
So the minimum required is 1 hour. However, we go after an hour. If it needs to be longer, we go in increments. So it could be 15-minute increments. So it could be an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and 30, an hour and 45. So however long it needs to be, but in terms of the smallest amount of time, we require an hour. I always encourage, especially if the kids are older, I encourage an hour and a half to 2 hours per session, because I find that while you can get things done in an hour, you got to be creative with it. So, and the kid has to be focused. So, but other than that, I usually recommend an hour and a half to 2 hours. But the required time is 1 hour.
And then how long do students stay with you? I suppose it varies, but in terms of...
It does vary, yeah. So I would say on average, it depends on the age too. So like the younger kids, like 11 and under, tend to be an hour. Maybe even a little lower, 45 minutes. Yeah. But the older kids, like over 11, I would say an hour and a half on average.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you about you a little bit. So how has inspiring all of these people and their confidence and making, I mean, because this makes a difference to people's life, right? Like you said, their self-esteem goes up, the trajectory of their future changes compared to struggling and feeling like they're not good enough, or whatever it is that they're feeling. If they're struggling with something, just a frustration, and these programs go in, it's like, I'm not good at math or whatever it is, and I think you're literally causing them to change their beliefs and their language patterns for the rest of their life. How does that impact you and your confidence?
I think because I see it as, I have to, especially with working with younger people, I have to model the behavior for them. So, of course, in counseling, we call this modeling, because we as people, I think we feed off of each other. So it's like behavior is contagious. So I think if the child has what we like to call negative self-talk, so it's things like, I suck, I'm horrible, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to make it, like all those is negative self-talk. And in a way, as a tutor, I guess, again, I can only speak for myself, but as a tutor, I find myself picking that up, like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to get to him, and how am I going to get through to him or her, or how am I going to get this person to focus? And so I also start doubting myself and questioning myself. So the fact that I know that I'm thinking that, the first step is to be aware that I'm thinking that. So the first step is self-awareness, like, whoa, I'm having negative thoughts right now. And then the second step is I need to change it. So when I find myself thinking that, is because the person I'm around me is thinking that. And so I know I don't want to think that. So I'm going to change those thoughts. And so I'm going to say, hey, listen, we're going to get through this. We're going to figure this out. Take it step by step, break it down, small steps. I'm giving myself the positive self-talk, and then I'm giving it to them. And then when I model that behavior, and of course, repetition is key. The more that I model it, the more that I repeat it, it's hopefully that's something that they pick up. So when they start thinking those thoughts, just say, hey, I'll figure this out. I'll figure this out. And when they pick up that behavior, then they start controlling those thoughts more. So I think in terms of my confidence, I think that I'm not perfect. I know, I have anxiety. So I have my own issues. But I think it's, I definitely have my moments. I have my imposter syndrome moments. But I think it's, but I find myself doubting myself. And especially when I'm around other people, it's like, I have to try, it's like, I have to try. Like, I have to help this kid. I have to work it out. And so I want to model that behavior. So when I show that I'm confident, and I show that I'm struggling to be confident. And then when I show that confidence and they see that, and then again, and with giving it time, then you see, oh, you know what? I'm going to work at it. I'm going to do what you're doing. And then they follow you. So you are the role model. So I think I have to work on my own confidence in order for the person with me to work on their own confidence. And I have to set that example for them, and I have to model that for them. So, because there's the, I'm trying to think the word, there's the power dynamic, there's the person in charge, and then you have the subordinate, right? Yeah. So the child is the subordinate, and they're looking to you, so it's like, I have to set the example. And so what example do I want to set? And what is the example that I want them to pick up from me? Yeah. So I have to, even the adults, listen, when I'm 34, but if I have a client who's 42 and who's trying to go back into nursing, that adult is older than me, but that person is the subordinate, because I am the tutor, right? So I'm the one that they're looking to for help. I'm the one that they called. So it has nothing to do with age. It's all about power. So because I'm in a position of power, they're still looking to me, even if they are older than me. So I still have to set the example and say, listen, we're going to get through this. We're going to power through this. Like, we got this. We got to break it down step by step. It's the encouraging self-talk, positive self-talk. And when I do that to myself, then, and they see that, then it's like, okay, I'm going to do that as well. And they pick it up. So back to your question, I think I have to be confident in myself, or even working on the confidence. When I start to do that, when I get into that mentality, or even working on it, then the other person working with me will do that as well, because I modeled that for them, and I set that example for them.
Absolutely. Can I ask, Gabrielle, so what are some of the things that make you feel confident or make you feel strong or give you the strength to do that?
I would say seeing the fruit of my labor, to be romantic again, seeing the fruit of my labor in that, like I'm persistent. I'm all about drills and practice, and we're going to do it again, and we're going to do it again. And I'm all about independence. So, okay, I showed you how to do it. Now you do it. So when I see that the students can figure out something on their own after time and time of practice and labor and working with them and trials and tribulations, and it's that light bulb that goes off in their head, or they start even something simple as changing the self-talk. Like they went from I suck, I can't figure this out to, you know what, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna figure it out. Just seeing that shift that I keep bringing up the word shift, but seeing that shift in them, it's like, whoa, did that just happen? So I think because I start to see that shift and I see those changes and I see them starting to get it and little things like that, I think that builds my confidence because it's showing that what I'm doing is working. And even if, and I know this is all, I'm kind of talking about myself and my own experiences, but even with the other tutors, because there's always that fear in the back of my mind, like, what if this doesn't work out? And, what if I'm setting like I represent my company. So if my tutor does a bad job, then I do a bad job because it kind of reflects on me. So there's always that fear in the back of my head. But when things, not to say that it'll all work out, but when the parent says like, hey, I like this tutor is working with my child well, and now my child is focused and getting stuff done, it's like, wow, whew, something is working. So when I see that, things are working and things are changing and behavior is changing, actions are changing, mood is changing, self-esteem is changing. When I see all those things and compare it to what they were in the beginning, it's like, okay, I'm doing something, then it shows that I'm reaping my reward and the things that I'm doing are working. So when I see that, the things are actually working, then that's where I get my confidence, because I'm actually seeing the effects of the things that I'm doing.
Beautiful. Okay, so I want to move on, speaking of confidence, to a few questions that I ask everybody who visits our Confidence Through Cabaret.
All right.
So, because it's fun then to be able to kind of, compare what everybody's choices are and preferences are for the same questions. So Cabaret is anything from, it's really typically something that's in a small venue, rather than a big stage. So comedians all typically start off in a cabaret venue. Singers very often start off in a cabaret venue, but there's certainly in a cabaret would be song, there would be dance, there's very often burlesque or drag, there's very often hula hoops and what's the word for bendy people? Contortion. I couldn't the word on my head. Contortion. So there's all kinds of things that make up cabaret, and the whole kind of essence is, of course, it's on a small stage with a fairly small audience. So if you were going on stage to perform in cabaret, what kind of act would you prefer to do?
Oh God. Well, I know my anxiety would go through the roof. But oh God. What kind of act would I do?
Can you sing?
I guess I would sing. Yeah, I don't know if I'm a great singer, but I can carry a tune. I did I did the Sunday school choir, and so I probably would sing, because it's easiest to me, and that's what I know, what I'm familiar with, and yeah, I probably would do that.
And an act is very much about, kind of telling a story. So, song is a great way to tell and express and share a story, and, some sort of an emotion. And, music is so rich for changing our physical state and our mental state anyway. Okay, so here's the question then. What one prop would you want to have with you?
In my performance?
In your performance. I mean, you're going to have a microphone. That's a given.
Shucks.
I know. I mean, so I'll give you some examples. We've had technical people on the podcast who've said, I want a pen because I feel safe when I'm holding a pen. We've had people with a coffee mug because, again, they feel safe with the coffee mug. We've had people with big feather fans. We've had people with hats. We've had people with umbrellas. I like a very long silky glove because I think it's fun because it's shiny and soft.
Does a podium count? Can I have a podium to stand behind?
You could. You could. I mean, that's very choir-esque, isn't it?
Yeah, I would do a podium or something like really big where I hide. Maybe a large fan. The large fans. I like that.
I love a fan because
a big fan. Yeah.
And move and flow. It's beautiful. Yeah, I'm not very good. They're actually fairly heavy and they're fairly hard to hold. They do start to hurt your hand after a while because you've got to hold them in a certain way. But I think they're very beautiful. So, and what would your stage name be, Gabrielle?
My stage name would be
I think you already know.
I'm thinking of the word lady. Lady something.
Oh.
Lady.
Okay. Lady knowledge.
I mean, you could be Lady Gabrielle. You could be whatever you want. You could be, Lady Gabby. I mean, you could. Do you know what I mean? You could play your own name.
I guess I would use my middle name, so I would use Lady, like Lady K, because my middle name is Khadija. So I probably would do Lady K.
I love that. That's very fun. That's very fun. It's a lot of fun to kind of have a stage name or a stage kind of persona. And I say that because you mentioned the words imposter syndrome, and a lot of us, I mean, most of us experience that. And having that other kind of, it's not separate to us, but that other kind of voice. So we've got that imposter voice that's saying, oh, what are you doing? And so on, and saying all the toxic best friend things. And then there's this other, Lady K who goes, hold on a minute, and there's like a fierceness and a strength in that. And I love to play with that kind of that essence of there is a part of you that stands up on a stage and sings, this is nothing, I've got this.
Yes, a whole new, like, it's like I'm a whole other person. Like I stepped out of my body and into a whole other body.
Yeah, and you know what? And Lady K can do anything. I love
Absolutely.
That. That's fun. I want to change my name now so that I have a lady in mind. I love that. I wish I was a lady.
And me too.
Yeah, what was your stage name?
I don't think we should mention it.
Okay.
Let's not do that now.
Adrian very much likes to be behind the scenes. He has all these ideas that we say and get us into trouble, but he always manages to stay off of camera. So it's
apart from now.
Apart from now. So I'm really pleased that you're here, but especially because I think you have an understanding, having been a teacher in the UK, and and I absolutely have adored talking to you about your business and your what you're doing, which is so important. But I really thank you for sharing with us about how you manage your own confidence as well, because I think that's a really great message for young people to hear as well, about that it's not like when you get to a certain age you've got it all figured out and then you don't feel all these fears and you don't have all these doubts. You're going through that, you're being honest and helping them and you're growing yourself. And I think that message is so important for mental health, to normalize it and say you're not alone in that. So I really appreciate you sharing that.
Thank you. Can I ask? I've been meaning to ask this throughout the entire interview.
Go
is
for
that
it.
Is that your living room that looks like a classroom, or are you in a classroom?
Oh, I'm in a friend of mine has a daycare center, and I'm using her space right now. So
okay.
This isn't my space.
It's not your, okay.
Is that what your living room looked like as a teacher then?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
and those borders, you see everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. So everyone can find you at astepaheadtutoringservices.com to check out your work. We have a lot of people in Confidence Through Cabaret who are based in the United States. So do reach out to Gabrielle, and if you wanted services, or just wanted to share an offering. If I was in the United States, I absolutely would share employability services for free, just to sort of say, let's get talking about what employers look for and so on, because that's where my experience is. And I just think you have so much resource and so much potential to be able to offer what people have to share. So I thank you for doing that, for making such a difference to young people.
Thank you. I do my best.
So we sign off with a little bit of a tagline here, just as we go. So if you're seeing this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. You can go and check the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts on Confidence Through Cabaret. If you're hearing this on your podcast, wonderful. Go check out the YouTube channel. Also, Facebook community is Confidence Through Cabaret. All things Confidence Through Cabaret, except for Twitter. We are at YBYWYS.
You have to think about it.
I didn't. I just wanted to say it slowly and clearly because I didn't have my banner ready for it. And we are on Clubhouse. I am at Heather YBYWYS. And that stands for, it is your body, it is your world, and it is your stage. Take up space, own it, enjoy, express yourself, share your message with others. Thank you so much again, Gabrielle. Thank you, Adrian, for being here. Gabrielle, it has been such a pleasure to meet you.
Awesome. Likewise. This was awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And we will see you next week for another podcast with a guest, which we have yet to announce, so we won't tell you that yet. But do like and subscribe, and reach out to Gabrielle. There's the details one more time. Where did it go? No, I scrolled. Wait. See, we're perfectly imperfect, and we're all good. Nothing bad happened.
Yeah.
There we go. Amazing. Thank you again, Gabrielle.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.